Hey guys, welcome to the Ultra Hope Girls podcast. We're so excited to have you guys here for our first episode. We just want to give you a heads up that this episode spoils.
Trigger Happy Havoc, Chapter 1.
Play along with us at home. We're going to be taking this whole game case by case and talking about it throughout. So if you're playing for the first time, get up to case 1 and we'll talk about it here.
I'm Madi.
I'm Meryn.
And I'm Caroline.
And we're the Ultra Hope Girls.
1, 2.
Welcome to the Danganronpa podcast.
You're on the threshold of an amazing episode. Showtime.
Today, the Ultra Hope Girls are going to be talking about the case where Sayaka attempts to frame Makoto for Leon's death, but is instead killed by Leon. All right.
Hey guys, I'm so excited.
Hello.
We should probably tell the people who we are, just so they know who they're listening to.
Yeah, so I'm Madi. I am a rising senior now in college. That's crazy. I'm a psychology major. I'm currently technically double majoring in biology, but I won't finish the double major, so I'll end up with a minor, and I'm hoping to go into neuroscience with that. So that's me.
That's so cool, Maddie.
Yay!
Just so everyone out there knows, I love Maddie. I'm obsessed with Maddie. She's great. Also, Meryn,
I'm obsessed with you too.
Love Maddie.
I'll go next, I guess. Hello, everybody. My name is Caroline. I am a musical theater major and a creative writing minor. And I'm also a rising senior in college, which is so insane. I'm planning after college to kind of be working in a city somewhere. We're not quite sure where yet, but we're not going to stress about it too much right now. I also have a YouTube channel called Teacups and Toadstools where I talk a lot about books and writing and just general things that I love. So if you want to check that out, look me up on YouTube. Yay!
Nice. Woohoo! We love Caroline as well.
We love all of us.
I'm Meryn. I am a rising senior as well, which is definitely wild. I am a nursing major at Pitt, hail to Pitt, and I love to cook. I love to write. I love video games, and I am in an a cappella group. That is one of my fave things to do. But yeah, I'm excited to get this going. Yeah. So
For sure, that takes the reins.
Maddie and I met each other in 5th grade, which is wild, long time ago. But yeah, we met and we've been friends ever since. And Caroline joined the little squad in 7th grade. So yeah.
Yes, indeed.
This is true. We were high school friends, and now we're in college and rebonding over Danganronpa.
Yes, indeed.
So, do you guys want to talk a little bit about like how we got into Danganronpa and like why we are into it? I guess.
For sure. Can I go first?
Yeah, sure.
So Caroline is the one who got me into Danganronpa. She kept telling me about it. I mean, it was for quite a while. She kept telling me about it and was saying, "Oh my gosh, you would love this game. You need to play this game. It's awesome." But I was like, so like. I'd never watched anime. I'd never played like a visual novel style game. So I was like, what is this? Like, am I really going to like this? It seemed kind of weird. And I gave it a try. And by the end of the first murder, I was like, oh my goodness, this is the best game I've ever played. So now I am, my love of this game has blossomed into a full-blown obsession with this franchise. And now I'm here, so.
Maddie even like has dreams about the characters. Like Maddie like is on another level, another plane. Oh man.
For me, I watched an old friend play the game a long time ago, and then it was a couple months ago, and Maddie was like, Meryn, like, have you played this? And she would send me like fan theories and stuff, and I was like, I didn't really play it. I kind of played it. But then I was like, I should actually sit down and play this game. And like Maddie, the first case, I loved it. Yeah, it's been a good time.
It's good. And I have a weird story. In high school, there's a friend of mine in my English class. I think I was a sophomore, and she was like, there's this great anime, it's so good. She was one of those people who always came in obsessed with a new thing and would tell everyone about it. It's called Danganronpa, and it's so good. And I loved like the Hunger Games at that point, so I was like, Danganronpa sounds good. And so I watched the anime of the first game before I played the games. And I loved it, but then I kind of put it down for a while. And then in college, my partner was like, we should play the second game together. And so we did, and then started the obsession all over again. And now it is what is keeping us in touch. Woo, party! Yeah.
I love the
Woohoo!
Hunger Games thing. That's so funny. We love
That's
stories
very
about
true.
kids killing each other.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
That's what we're here
really
for.
get us going.
All right, do we want to just start from the top of the game?
I like it. Let's start from the top.
Do it.
All right, so we got Makoto
Oh,
showing
icon.
up. He just wants to be so special.
He does. Well, he's special.
He's lucky.
Yeah, ultimate lucky. I don't know if he is lucky though. That was actually something that I wrote down. Is Makoto lucky?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Because even if he's lucky within the game, he got stuck in this situation in the first place, which doesn't sound terribly lucky to me.
Right.
You know, it's funny you bring that up because I was thinking, and this is jumping ahead a little bit, but in the trial, Monokuma was like, wow, it's really unlucky that the lucky student had the stuck door.
Yeah.
But it is lucky because it kept him from getting convicted.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, well, I guess, I mean, that's it. And then we descend into madness and black out. And
Also, something fun I found about do a little bit of research I did. So at one point you see like the brochure in the prologue that it's like graduation class of 2014. That would mean that the characters in modern day and today would be around 24 years old, except for Hiro, who is held back, so he is 31 now.
Forgot about that.
He's so old. What?
That's so funny.
Yeah,
Wow.
because he's 21, like in the game.
That's
He's like, I got held
crazy.
back a couple times.
Yeah, a couple.
that's
Mhm.
I mean, I guess we could just talk about the characters.
I was gonna say.
Yeah,
I mean,
first impressions?
Jump
first
ahead.
impressions.
I mean,
Hmm.
my notes, I think, like, I literally have a note that just says, Meryn, you are Ishimaru, but his eyebrows are like wings.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, first impressions, I don't know. For people who I liked, there was a much smaller list. I actually really liked Mondo from the first part because he was just kind of like there. He was saying what he wanted to say. I was like, okay, at least he has a personality. I did not like Toko at the beginning. I
Me
was like,
either.
if this is the whole game, I'm not gonna like this. And then I didn't like Taka, even though he and I have some similarities, we'll say. And yeah, my other least favorite would definitely have been Leon, interestingly, which is really funny because that is one of Maddie's favorites.
He is. Okay. I literally, oh my god, I agree with you on the Toko thing. I was like, wow, she's really stuck up. I don't like her. I thought Taka was annoying too, but Leon, oh my goodness, I was like, I don't even know why. I don't have a good reason, but I love Leon. Like, I just love him. And I like his style. He's adorable. I loved how he was saying, like, that he was like, I'm not going to cut my hair. I'm not going to dye it back to normal, which obviously means he's not a natural redhead, but he's like, he wants to be a musician. Like, it's just cute. And I just love him. It's funny because, like, playing back over the game a second time, I realized I was like, he actually says things that are kind of mean sometimes, though. Like, he, I think, like, twice, like once or twice, calls Hifumi fatty, and I'm like, oh my goodness, Leon, like, you can't say things like that. But at the same time, you know, they're all in a very stressful situation. They're not their best selves right now, so, like,
That's true.
Yeah. It's funny because I remember when Madi was playing through the first game for the first time, and she was texting us like all the time, and like the first half of the game she was like, oh my god guys, I love Leon, I'm obsessed with Leon, and I'm out here like, he's about to be a murderer, bro. Like, I get to you, but like
Yeah, it was tragic.
oh my god. For me, okay, so for all you fans out there of the Ultra Hope Girls, Toko is my favorite character in the first game, but not at the beginning. And I remember when I watched the anime when I was 15, I said, oh my god, the ultimate bookworm, that's me. And then she opened her mouth and I was like, ew. And but like she grew on me as the series goes on. It's just like it takes time, I feel like, for her to like warm up to people, and therefore as an audience it takes us time to warm up to the character.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I spent most of my free time with Toko.
Okay, so for context and everyone out there, I have actually never played the game before. I've only seen the anime. And so this is my first time playing the game for this podcast. And so I decided to spend my first free time with Chihiro. Anyone have
Chihiro. I love her.
Yeah, I feel like she doesn't really have a lot about her within the first chapter. You know, we don't really find out anything about her till later in the game. So it was a little bit hard for me to form an opinion on her so early. I was just like, oh yeah, a small shy girl.
yeah,
I love her. I think she's cute. I think she's a cutie.
I know. She was one that I initially was not attracted to like romantically, but like a drawn to, I guess is the
Yeah.
word.
Yeah.
I don't know. She's so sweet and good.
Yeah. There's a moment where you like are first talking to her or something and she's like, "Oh no, you look angry. Like, did I do something wrong?" And I was like, "No, Chihiro, you did not do anything wrong." Oh my goodness. Small bean.
I have to tell you too, in free time with I'm flipping my notes. In free time, Chihiro literally is like, I have this really bad mosquito bite and it really hurts. And then Makoto says, he says you need to push your finger against it and pop it. And I was like,
What?
bro, that's
What
bad
kind of
advice.
mosquito bite? What?
What?
They
That
were
is
like,
so
how did
weird.
a bug get into here? I don't know. And I was like, okay, guys. Well, do we want to talk about, there was something I said. Oh, so I noticed very early on, like just how awesome the music is in this game, like, and in setting the tone, like immediately, like in the scene where he wakes up in the school, I was like uneasy because the music is so strong. But it's funny. I have a fun fact, you guys.
I'm ready.
I
Ooh.
learned that the composer for the music of this game didn't watch any footage of the game before composing because he didn't want to be spoiled, and he wanted to
Wow.
play through it,
I
which
respect
is really
that.
interesting. Because usually he would watch like muted footage of the games that he composes for, but this one he didn't want to. But it's amazing how well it fits
Yeah.
the ambiance of the whole game. It's crazy.
For sure.
Wow.
The music is awesome. I especially love the investigation music. It's a bop.
Yes,
It slaps.
I love
Yeah.
it. It's so
Box
good.
15. That's a hit.
Oh yeah, my ringtone, y'all.
Yeah, I've walked to class listening to Danganronpa music, so
I love that for you, Meryn.
it's just too much of a jam to deny.
It's so good.
That's just so good.
I mean, we can
can I-
talk about. Oh, go ahead, Maddie. Maddie, please.
I
Please.
just something funny that just like I just thought was funny that I wanted to bring up. I just think it's hilarious that in that first conversation with Monokuma where he's like explaining what's going on and everyone's like, what the hell? Like, we have to kill each other? Is this a sick joke? And like Mondo is getting all riled up because he's like angry boy. But the final straw for Mondo, like when he decides to attack Monokuma in rage and like almost gets blown up, is when Monokuma insults his hair. And I think that's really funny.
You know,
my
it just shows how fragile men can be. Like I'm just gonna say, like, my brother in high school, he drove like my mom's 2001 Toyota Sequoia, and he would come home and be like, "Mom, I just look so stupid in that car. I want a cool car." And my mom would, and he would get all like emotional about it and like annoyed. And then my mom would be like, "Well, at least you have a car."
Kind of reminds me of like Napoleon Bonaparte, because like
Oh my god, yeah.
I mean, he was so aggressively upset whenever anyone would insult his height. And here's Mondo with his weird hair. Like, what is that hair?
I don't know how
I
it's
was gonna say, isn't Napoleon the one who like got kidnapped by pirates and like heard about like the ransom that they set for him and was offended because it was too low and made them like set the ransom higher?
I've definitely heard that. I don't know if it's true or not, but oh,
Amazing.
that's a
But yeah.
new level of narcissism.
I mean, we couldn't get through it one episode without talking about Mondo's hair. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is so iconic.
It's a key topic.
Man.
there's some gravity defying hair in this cast of characters. Like you've got like
Yeah.
Hero.
Hero, who literally his hair just like hovers.
Mhm.
And you have Mondo, who like, what even is that? And then you
Yeah.
have like Junko and Celeste with the big pigtails.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Some iconic hair.
Yeah, even Kyoko's kind of stands up. It like curls away to the side. That's the
It's
kind of
like
volume
frozen
I
into the
want
emitter.
in my shampoo.
My shampoo. Oh my god. I have to bring up really quick before we kind of get more into like the like murder stuff. I really want to talk about, so Sayaka brings up this very real point about like following her dreams and like her dream of being a pop star, and how like her career is so dependent on other people seeing her and liking her.
Yeah.
And I just like I literally wrote some real truths about being a performer as an aspiring actor, for those of you listeners who don't know. I really want to be an actor, and that was like so real, and it kind of gave me like another perspective on her character. I had always kind of viewed her as a little one-dimensional, but I don't know, it gave me some depth for her.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Especially coming from you, Caroline, who I think you might be able to relate to that kind of like the cutthroat world of the performing arts.
Okay, so for the pre-murder stuff, one thing I had was about the videos that they're all shown.
Yes.
The videos where it's like, hey, here's something you love. Look, we took it away. Those
Yeah.
videos were a little confusing to me as a motive, because when I played through the game, you watch the video and that's it. It's just like Makoto's parents are not there anymore. And that, to me, I was like, why would you want to leave after seeing that? Like, why would you see a video of your parents being like implicating that they are dead and be like, okay, well, now I want to go. I'd like to
Yeah.
leave into this world where everything's gone that I love. But what's interesting is in the anime, when you get to see Sayaka's video, her video at the end said, to find out like what happened, you must graduate. Which gave her a reason to want to leave. But even then, I mean, that's something that I kind of wanted to discuss, is if you saw a video and everything you loved was taken away from you, would that be a motive to leave?
So, Meryn, that is a really good question. I kind of had the same thought about like, would that really be a motive? Because it's like, oh, look, the things you love are gone. You can't have them anymore. But I mean, the anime and the game kind of have a similar message in that, like you were saying, that one message, and the other one is, it says something just like find out after graduation. And so I think that's definitely saying like the motive, I guess, maybe is like the unanswered questions, or like maybe some kind of unfinished business where it's like you want to find out what happened to your family or to your friends or whatever. And I think for some people that could be a really powerful motive, especially if they are, hopeful that they might be able to get that back, because we don't explicitly see that like anyone is dead necessarily. It's just like, oh no, my family or my friends are in danger. And so I don't know, but that is a good question, because it's like,
Yeah.
it's yeah.
True, but in Sayaka's video, all of her bandmates are lying on that stage.
Yeah.
And the implication there is that they're dead. I mean, I guess you could threaten them and say, if you don't lie on the stage and act dead, then we'll
Or they're like
kill you
knocked
or
out or something.
something.
But yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's a good question.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I think if you're already in this situation that is so heightened and the emotions are already like at 100%, 110%, I kind of could see that potentially working. Like, I think, it's interesting. And I was thinking about this, like, how long would it have taken for a murder to happen without any semblance of a motive? And this sort of like it pulls out the desire in people to want to know what's going on out there, because like in here we literally don't know. And so I think that that's part of it. And also, again, Sayaka's like family is this band, and she, like her whole career depends on the success of this group. And so it's like, I don't know. I think it's a valid. It is a little mysterious, but I think it's done that way so it's up to the brain of the interpreter to
Right.
know where it goes.
You
And
can't
I
shake
think
it. Like, you can't stop thinking about it. And it's like the only way I'm going to be able to lay this to rest and figure out what's going on is to get out of here. But yeah.
I also just want to say, like, it is rather topical, my friends, that these people are stuck in a place that they cannot leave.
I was just thinking that.
I wrote that in my notes. I was like, wow, how topical. There's no outside. They are inside.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think it's kind of funny to wonder how they would do in quarantine.
Yep.
I think it
With
would
the
probably
Rona.
be pretty similar to how the game plays out. But the Rona killing game. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Like with this quarantine, I haven't really had a problem with staying inside.
Well, the thing is, though, is they don't know what's going on outside, but we
True.
do. That's that. I feel like that is the difference.
Very true.
So I have one thing I want to share, and then we can get into investigation land.
Mhm.
All right.
Does that sound okay? I just noticed that Celeste to Junko says, "If you can't stop showing a weakness, you will die."
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
observed that. Also, Chihiro brings up Genocide Jack a lot earlier than in the anime.
Yeah.
Oh, in the
Mhm.
anime?
Yeah, the anime doesn't bring Genocide Jack up until
Oh,
later.
then the anime. Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so it was interesting that Chihiro is like, it could be the work of Genocide Jack, and that comes up
Yeah.
right away.
Okay, so for Junko's death, it was really interesting for me when I first played through the game because I thought that Junko was a really strong character. I mean, the ultimate fashionista, she's an extrovert, she's confident, like she's kind of telling people her opinion, what to do, all these things, and like instantly she was gone. And I just thought it was so interesting that she was
Yeah.
like there and then not.
It's a shock. It's very sudden. Just all of a sudden, she's just dead. And Kyoko at that moment, after she gets killed, says something interesting. Kyoko says something about like, she says to Monokuma, like, like, were you planning this the whole time? Like, were you planning to kill somebody? And I wonder if she might be correct because Monokuma kind of almost like provoked them or somebody into killing him, sorry, like stomping on him. Like he provoked Junko into like stomping on him because he like charged at them or whatever. And so I
Mhm.
think he was like possibly trying to like be able to set an example with somebody and just be
Right.
like, here's what happens, like I can literally kill you if you like do anything that I don't like. So
Yeah, and I think that's kind of interesting because he implied after Mondo like kind of punches him, whatever, and Monokuma explodes as a bomb. Um, he's
yep.
like, do that again and you'll die. And
Yeah.
that is interesting. He said, like, break another rule and that's it. I'm not giving you another second chance. And
Yeah.
like, another second chance, that's a little redundant. But I think it's interesting because you have to then consider what if someone else other than Junko had broken the next rule? Like, what if it had been Leon? What if Leon was out at night and fell asleep? He napped somewhere, Because I think,
Yeah.
especially for this case, like, let's say Leon goes and naps in the hallway, right? And then Leon gets stabbed with a bunch of swords. Who would Sayaka have drawn to the room?
Yeah.
Would they have successfully been murdered? Like,
Yeah.
would everyone else have blamed Makoto? Like, it's like a kind of a stream of things. Like, this was, in a way, kind of lucky for Makoto that it was Junko who died and not Leon.
Right, because also if it had happened after, because I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, Junko dies after Sayaka. So Sayaka's been murdered and they're about to start the investigation. And that's when Junko dies. And so what if that had been Leon? Like, what do you do if the person who committed the murder is now dead for another reason? Like, are you able
Right.
to even have a trial? Because they don't even know that it was Leon at that point.
It
It's
makes you, oh, yeah, I was just going to say, it makes you wonder, like, how much of this game is really in their hands and how much is outside of their hands. Because,
Right.
yeah, again, like, he didn't kill Mundo. He didn't use or Mondo.
Mondo, yeah.
He didn't kill Mondo. Like, he didn't use Mondo as an example.
Right, exactly.
Junko
Interesting.
even says after she's been stabbed, like her dying words, she was like, "Why me?" That's a
Yeah.
good question. Like, could it have been anybody? You know,
We'll have to find
Yeah.
out.
And it is also interesting what you said, Maddie, that about like what if it had been Leon and stuff, because right after Junko dies, Byakuya, this is in the anime, I don't think this was in the game, but I can't remember, but Byakuya is like, well, we know that Junko wasn't the murderer, so we need to get on with the investigation. And that's
oh,
interesting to me. Like, that is a big assumption.
yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
Like, I think if I had watched the anime first, I would have been really suspicious of Byakuya, because, like, that's a bold statement. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with more Danganronpa info.
All right, so now moving into kind of the trial and investigation section, you know, the murder has happened. Something that I wondered was, so this actually happens before the murder, but it's kind of relevant. So before that happens, like the night before or whatever, Sayaka asks Makoto to help her find a weapon she can use for self-defense. And at that point, I wonder if she and she hasn't seen her video yet. This is like before all of that. And so part of me wonders, oh, well, was she just being genuine? Like she genuinely wanted something for self-defense? Or was she already planning at that point to commit a murder? Because you could say, oh, well, she hasn't seen her video yet. Maybe she doesn't have that motive. She's really just being genuine. Or is she already hell-bent on getting out of here and she's already planning on finding a weapon to be used for murder?
I hear your point, Maddie. My thought, I think the moment that she came up with the idea of the murder is when she had a potential person to frame for murder. Because Makoto says, I'll do anything. I promise I'll get you out of here. I'll do anything to get you out. And she goes, you'll do anything? And that is very like him committing in that moment to being the framed person in this situation.
Yeah. Sayaka, she also mentions that when she's going to Makoto's room the night of the murder, and she tells him that she heard banging on her door. And I'm just curious to know if you guys think that that's real. If you guys think that there was banging on her door, because in an easy sense, no, she's trying to frame him, she's trying to freak him out. But I think it's interesting that she assumed Makoto would suggest a room trade, because he didn't. He actually suggested that they stay in the same room.
Yeah.
Because he's a player.
Yeah, Makoto.
Woo woo. I don't know. It's interesting.
It is interesting. And Caroline, you bring up a really good point about Makoto saying, like, I promise I'll do whatever it takes to get you out of here. Like, I wonder, did Sayaka take that as permission to frame him? Do you think that she took that as, oh, well, he really is willing to do whatever it takes to get me out of here, so I'm going to do whatever it takes? And, you know, do you think she took that as permission to do what she did?
Absolutely. Even if it wasn't permission, I think
oh, for sure.
she took it that way. You know, I think he didn't even realize, but I wonder if he regrets his words later in the trial.
Damn, I mean, yeah, I agree. That's definitely not permission. I consent to you framing me for murder. No, not quite. But yeah, I mean, I wonder if she really did take that as like, okay, he said, he made a promise, I can do this now, you know?
Also, okay, I understand this is Makoto, all right. He is kind of infatuated with Sayaka, you know, she's the ultimate pop star, whatever.
Absolutely.
Why would you trade rooms? This girl comes to your room and says, someone was banging on my door and I think they'd like to murder me in my room later tonight. And he's like, oh, I'll take that room. Is that free?
Oh, I'm gonna get murdered tonight. Said Makoto.
Yeah, I mean,
so what?
Yeah, and my theory before we like get in really into the investigation, my theory was that whoever was the murderer was trying to kill Makoto instead. Like that was my theory. And so yeah, I mean, like Makoto, why would you do that?
he accepts the room where he knows someone is going to try he knows, in parentheses or quotation marks, that someone's going to try and murder him in the room. And then he has this problem with locking his door. Like, he accepts a room where he knows someone will try and murder him, and he doesn't even care to lock the door, ever.
You degenerate male.
Thank you. Degenerate male.
Oh my God.
Oh, Makoto. I guess my question is, why do you think Sayaka chose Leon?
That's a great question.
You know, he wants to be a musician.
True.
So there is that sort of, you know, getting a connection with the ultimate pop sensation.
True. Maybe she thought that he would be easiest to lure to her room.
But I would have picked Hifumi then, personally. I mean, Hifumi is obsessed with women, whether he admits it or not. And he just seems like an easier person to kill than an athlete. So that is interesting. I think Caroline might be right about the music link there. Yeah.
I will say, though, Hifumi is very particular about insisting that he only likes 2D. So
Listen, all the people in this universe are 2D. Just
True.
figure that out.
Oh my God.
Yo.
Oh my God.
Wow, that's deep.
I also, before we get to the actual murder, I want to share another fun fact that I just have in the back of my mind for some reason.
Yes,
So,
go for it.
The creators of Danganronpa, the first two characters that they created were Leon and Sayaka. And they had to use those models to copy for all of the other characters in it. And so they were so tired of having to go back to them that they were like, all right, those are the first people gone. We're done. We hate them. We're murdering them now.
Wow.
Oh my God.
So funny.
That is a very fun fact.
Wow.
Okay, so for the actual murder, what is so interesting about this murder? I did a lot of research into how she died, Sayaka. Surprise, Sayaka dies. And what is really interesting to me about her death is the amount of references to pop culture that that can be linked to it. I mean, throughout this entire game, there are references at every turn to multiple media forms. But Sayaka's death, there were two references that I thought were really interesting. One is the movie Psycho from the 60s, Alfred Hitchcock. She dies in the bathroom, stabbed in the bathroom. So that's very interesting, but even more interesting. All right, here we go. There's a band called the Sex Pistols, and the Sex Pistols is a band that inspired Leon in the game. He says that's part of that's one of the three groups that inspires me to create music. And in the Sex Pistols, there is their bassist. I think it's their bassist. His name is Sid Vicious. And Sid Vicious was under trial. He, I think he was acquitted, but he was accused of murdering his girlfriend, Nancy Spungen, I think is her name. And the way that Nancy Spungen died was a stab wound from a knife to her chest under the sink in a bathroom, which is the exact same way Sayaka dies. And the biggest thing, Sid Vicious wears a padlock around his neck, just like a certain man named Leon Kawada.
No kidding.
Oh my God, that's
wild.
Wow. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Meryn, kudos to you for figuring that out. Oh my goodness.
Thank you. I had some help from the internet, but but I was like, that's so wild. I mean, I it's hard to say after that there wasn't inspiration there.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's that would be a hell of a coincidence.
Yeah, especially since he names the Sex Pistols as his inspiration. I mean,
I know, that's, oh my God. I feel like, in playing the game for the first time, I think I learned a lot more about like the characters, obviously, because in a 30-minute episode anime, like you're not going to get all the information. And Toko says something very interesting during after the trial, basically after Leon has been like convicted. And she says, a totally normal kid or a national superstar, who are you more likely to believe? And I think that like kind of sums up what this case is, like in a quote almost, like, oh, Toko, my queen.
You must be like a writer or something.
I don't know. I might write some things. Oh wait, also unrelated, really quick. I literally, half of my notes are quotes from characters. Literally, Kyoko says to freaking Makoto during the investigation, and I can't remember in what like context, like what she responded to, but she says, "Do you often talk like an aspiring poet?" And I said, I was like, "Thank you, Kyoko, for calling out degenerate males."
Oh my goodness.
Is that going to be my
Cute,
catchphrase
though,
for
like-
this? Degenerate males.
It's kind of funny though, because like Makoto's inner thoughts are really poetic sometimes. He's like,
Mhm.
he's a very like sensitive person. Like he's kind of like
I'm
he
making
says some
grimacing faces. I'm sorry.
yeah no he says some very interesting things though. It's like it's kind of it's yeah no it's just kind of funny to me, like how, because you wouldn't expect him to be the kind of person, I don't think, who would have those kinds of like deep poetic thoughts.
Yeah, he's an artist. It's his craft.
It's his craft. Oh my god. I think things to notice from the trial itself. I have empty seat.
Yeah,
Mhm.
what is that
Acknowledge
about?
He said in
Um,
the anime, he was like, "Don't think too much about it," and I was like,
All right, so let's think of it now.
"Yeah,
That has to mean something, right? I mean, like they wouldn't just like randomly have that for no reason.
You know, it's interesting because this is the first game in the series, and so we don't already have it in our minds playing it that like this game is going to mess with you in a lot of different ways, and so
Mm.
that might not seem important right now,
yeah."
but it could be
Mm.
important. You know, that's kind of something we
I
don't
always
figure out.
assumed it was like a seat kind of for Monokuma, like
Okay.
the
I thought
bear,
too,
in case he
maybe.
wanted to like jump into the conversation. That's kind of where I took it.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wondered about that too.
I also so some highlights from the trial for me. I said, literally, this note quote says, "Okay, Byakuya, buddy, you're hot. I get it." Like, I kind of understand now, like, because Maddie and Meryn both think Byakuya is just like the hottest being in the world.
He's
And
just
you
a
know,
dream.
I didn't understand, but you know what? Now I understand.
Yes, welcome.
Kind of
Oh god, he's
attractive.
terrible. Like he's terrible. He's terrible. But
He's awful, but like,
I don't know why. Like I literally should hate him.
I just want him to hate make out with me.
Right?
That's it. I also just want to bring up, because I think it's just, we need to bring up the wholesomeness. Hina and Sakura slept in the same room
Yes.
because
I'm
they're
crying.
so perfect for each other.
I ship
They
it.
are. It's too good.
That's canon, right? Like, they're gay.
It has to be.
They never say it, but it is so blatantly obvious.
Yeah. Like, it's so cute. And it's like, I like that it's not like mentioned. It's like, this is a
Mhm.
gay relationship. It's like, we all
Right.
know it is, and it's just accepted. And it's like,
It's not
Oh.
what defines them.
exactly, like they're their own people, but they're like, oh my god, I love them. They're so
Something
cute.
actually about Sakura and Hina, they're having evening tea the night before the murder, right?
Yes, they are.
I know, cute, right? Evening tea. And they're in the kitchen, and Sayaka comes in there, and she grabs a knife and leaves. And she's like, "I'm just having fun. I'll see you guys tomorrow," right? I just want to know what she was thinking would happen in the trial. Like, I understand she was going to try and frame Makoto, and maybe she'd be like, "Oh, he pressured me to get the knife." But, like, how could you explain that away? Like, you literally were seen getting the murder weapon.
Meryn,
Good
I
question.
just ask you, who are you more likely to believe? An ordinary kid or an international pop sensation?
You know, that's a really good point. Are you a writer?
Yes. Toko, a writer writes.
That's so good. Yeah.
Also, just as an outside eye, again, this is the first time playing this game. This trial, and I don't know if you guys can confirm this trial feels fast to me. Like, and it's not because I don't already know what's going on. There's no intermission. There are like 3 games that don't exist in this trial. And it's like, there's one truth bullet per question. And so
Right.
I'm like, it's like, it feeds me the answer that spoon feeds me.
Definitely.
The first game, one thing that I would suggest doing, which now it's probably too late for you, Caroline, because you can't change difficulties midway, would be to play on hard
Okay.
logic.
Yeah.
There's also no intermissions in any of the trials in the first game.
Oh.
That was something that surprised me in the second game. I was like, what? Because they were like ending the trial, and I was like, do you want to save? And I was like, are we done?
There's still more to discuss.
Literally, we didn't find the murderer, and I'm like, all right. Yeah. So anyways, I do think that they're shorter, but I would highly suggest for all of our listeners to play on a hard logic.
Okay, this is the last point I want to say before we get to the like big question of this case, I think, unless anyone else has anything they want to say. But I just want to say really quick. So the whole thing with like the sleeve like falling out of the fiery depths of the incinerator. Why did I say it like that? a writer writes, guys.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. But it implies like, and people are like, well, he's not the only one who wears a long button-down shirt. And the fact he is wearing the exact same outfit the next day implies that every character in this game has like 7 of the same outfit and clothes every day. Which is so funny.
It's like a uniform, but
It is.
they don't have the same one.
Oh my god. All right, Maddie, go for it.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about 11037 real quick because when I don't know about y'all, but when I first played through this game, I was like, I took one look at it and I was like, oh my god, it says Leon. Like it felt so obvious. And I was like, wow, like that wasn't very difficult at all. But nobody else in the game gets it until Kyoko comes out during the trial and is like, y'all are dumb, like flip it upside down. But I also realized that this, at least to my understanding, in the Japanese version, it's the same. Like it's not like Japanese characters or whatever. I'm pretty sure it looks exactly the same in the Japanese version. At least it does in the anime, and I think in the game as well. Which kind of makes sense because in like the Japanese version, it's like it's custom to like refer to people by their last names. So Leon would be Kuwata. Everyone would be calling him Kuwata because that's his last name. And so writing down Leon is a little bit less obvious because you have to remember, oh, his first name is Leon. And then I think in the anime, I was watching I've played the game and watched the anime, and I watched the subtitle version, not the dub version. So they're speaking Japanese and it's translated. Yeah. And so
subs over dubs. I'd like to pause and say that. I will fight for that until I die. Okay.
I know you do, Meryn. But Makoto at one point in the anime says like, Kuwata, Leon is your first name, isn't it? And then Leon is like, what are you talking about? And so I think that is like, I was like, first playing through it, I was like, wow, that's so obvious. Like, why is that even like, suspension of disbelief, but why isn't everyone figuring that out? But then it makes a little more sense when you think about the Japanese version, I think, is a little less obvious.
All right. Let's do it.
Self-defense or
Do
murder?
you think it was self-defense or murder? Let's just go around and give our thoughts.
I have very strong feelings about this. I personally am of the opinion that it was murder. It's interesting because the manga and the anime make it seem more like self-defense, and the game makes it seem more like murder. And I played the game first, so maybe that causes a little bit of bias. But here's my reasoning. Okay, when Leon holds up the golden sword and Sayaka hits it, misses, whatever, then he breaks her wrist, right? And then she runs into the bathroom, she closes the door, she sits down, she's scared. So he goes and gets his kit to unlock the door, right? Because he doesn't know how the door works in her quote unquote room. And so that to me makes it a premeditation. Even if she tried to kill him first, there were 10,000 other ways that he could have ended it. He could have gone and woken everyone up. He could have gone back to his room. He could have done a bunch of things. And then also in the manga, I think it is, they say that Sayaka opens the door again to try and deal another blow. But that to me is unrealistic because she has a broken wrist. All right, she has no murder weapon now, right? The idea that this very petite woman with a broken wrist would try and take on the world's greatest baseball player and athlete with no weapon is absurd to me. Like, she would have to be incredibly desperate or stupid or both. So that's my opinion. I think that it was murder because, I mean, he had a lot of time to not go back and kill her. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I kind of agree with most of what you said. I think I haven't read the manga, but that's really interesting that you bring that up, because I also agree. I think that's very unrealistic, especially if she is right-handed, it was her right wrist that was broken. I don't think you'd want to be trying to deal another blow at that point. And I agree. I think you bring up good points about him having plenty of opportunities to change his mind. And I believe it is Celeste who says that exact same thing during the trial. She was like, when Leon is like, oh, but it was self-defense, I didn't have a choice. It's Celeste who then says, oh, but you did. You had to go back to your room and get your toolkit and then come back and break through the door and kill her. Like, you had plenty of opportunities to stop what you were doing. And I'm like, damn, Celeste, like, okay. Like, I love Leon to death. I mean, I think that in a killing game situation like this, where they're being forced to like do this stuff, they do have less responsibility because of this crazy situation that they've been put in. But I also, and I love Leon, even though I know he's extremely problematic. He's my problematic fave. I have many problematic faves. Byakuya is another one, but
I was gonna say.
but like, I do think it was murder, and I do think that the self-defense excuse doesn't work, because he, broke into the bathroom to get to her, and it's, but he does say something. One of the quotes, like right before he gets executed, is he says, "None of you are any different. One wrong step and you'd be the one standing here." And that
Yeah.
I do believe. I do believe
I
that.
agree
I
with
think
that.
echoing something that, Meryn, that you said earlier, like anyone is capable of that. I think so, given the right situation. Yeah, it could have been anyone. And it might have just been bad luck that he was the one Sayaka chose to try and lure into that situation, and anyone else might have done that. And so it's kind of just like it's complicated. But when he says that, when he says none of you are any different, I do believe that.
Yeah, that's real. And so I 100% agree. I don't think it was self-defense. I think it started out that way and then quickly got out of hand. Something that I do want to bring up though is like, I only know this from like my personal experience. So I'm not like, I don't study like psychology behind aggression in men, like, and all that stuff. Maddie does.
I'm a
Because
psychology
I
major.
study psychology. There's the argument, like, I'm playing devil's advocate for a second, so we kind of already talked about the other points, but like there's the point of he's in a crazy scenario where people are killing each other, and his mindset is kill or be killed, especially after being attacked and like being like, oh my god, my life is at risk, holy crap. Like, I think that there's validity on both sides, though I agree with Celeste. Wait, I also need to share, you guys, Celeste is like, I love her. I want to
Love
marry her. She is so hot.
Love
I
her.
love her so much. That's all. I just thought we should give context to that, but that's all. Meryn?
Yeah, so that's really interesting. There have been a couple Law and Order SVU episodes that I've seen actually, where the defendant uses the defense of rage. That rage is why they killed someone, and that should be enough, because when you get into a fit of rage, you can't stop. And that has never worked in Law and Order SVU as a defense. It's very, like, it's like, oh, I was angry.
I was really mad.
Yeah, but I think that's really interesting because, to a point, like, if you felt something like rage, you know that like you are just kind of going through the motions, and like you're not really thinking of your consequences. But I don't think that expunges you from those consequences.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't know. It is very interesting though. Yeah.
Do we want to talk about his execution at all? Because, oh my god, I was shook after watching that. Like, literally, that is a horrible way to die.
It's brutal.
Those
Brutal.
executions
Brutal.
really bothered me. Ooh,
Something,
I didn't like watching them.
it's like this game, it's genius because these kids are still in high school, and so they're still growing and still developing, and it means like you watch this execution and you're like, did that person really deserve to
No,
die that way?
He didn't.
No. I mean,
No.
yes, he murdered somebody, but like that was brutal. And he is also like 16 or 17 years old.
Yeah,
And he also, go ahead, Maddie.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, I mean, especially for me, because I love him, but it is so hard to watch. Like, more so in the game than the anime, because the anime doesn't like go into as much detail. But like right before his execution, when Leon is literally like screaming, like, "No, please don't do this! Please don't do this!" Like, oh my god! Like I was, whew, it was a lot to handle. Like it was so hard to watch.
He also, Monokuma, uses what they love against them in the
Yeah,
execution. That is so dark. Like,
yeah.
oh my goodness.
Oof.
Anything else we want to comment on, or you think
I've
I'm
gone
good.
through all my notes.
we're
Yeah.
wrapped, y'all? So hey, fam, thanks for listening to our first episode of our podcast. We're so excited
Yay!
because we were like
Yeah.
talking. The reason why we started this is we were like, this is a content-starved community, and we need to provide
Yes.
content for our community.
We like to end our podcast with a round
Yes.
of.
I forgot.
No, you're good. We like to end our podcast with a round of bed, wed, behead. Which, yeah. So today, for the first round, we are going to be talking about the 3 people who have died. So we've got Junko, the ultimate fashionista, Leon Kuwata, ultimate baseball star, and Sayaka, the ultimate pop sensation. So, Caroline, why don't you start us off?
Wow.
No pressure.
Well, I have always sort of like the kinds of people that I am attracted to are not usually like masculine men. So I think that I would, sorry, Leon and Maddie's heart that is breaking right now. I'm gonna have to kill Leon just because of that. I think because I don't have any desire to bed Leon. I have no. But also like, okay. I think I'd have to go with Sayaka just for marriage because we would work in a similar field, and I think like since we're both like very focused on our craft, like we would have a good like relationship in a marriage scenario. Because I don't know, that's just my thinking. And then I would bed Junko.
All right, Maddie, you're up.
All right, so for me personally, I would marry Leon. I don't think you guys are surprised by that. Because I do love him, and although he is extremely problematic, nobody is perfect. So there's that. I would probably well, I'm not using the right terminology. I'm sorry. I would wed Leon. I would probably, for bed, I'd probably say Junko because she is kind of cute. And I would kill Sayaka, behead. I'm sorry, Sayaka, because I'm sorry, but I don't really like her. So bye-bye, Sayaka.
Bye-bye. Okay, for me, I would wed Junko.
Wow.
I know. She's got some drive though, you know? Like she doesn't need other people to thrive, and I admire that. Unlike Sayaka, who I would bed, because she's just so like it takes her like 5 seconds to want to murder, and I just couldn't handle that level of like instability for life. And then unfortunately I would behead Leon. I'm so sorry, Maddie.
Yeah,
he doesn't really get me anywhere.
That's so funny. Guys, we did it! Oh my god, we are doing a podcast. Hey guys, thank you for tuning into our podcast with Meryn and Madi and Caroline, the Ultra Hope Girls. We have a Facebook page that you can go like, and we also have a private group for all of our friends out there when we want to further the discussion, and you can talk to us directly on there at all times, basically. Yeah, we're really excited to be doing this podcast because we were like, this is a content-starved community that needs more things about Danganronpa in the world. So here we are. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening, and we will talk to you next week.